I am done with sacrificing my body image for the sake of an extra inch on my ass or my quads. Being more accepting of how I am naturally built and leaning more into that. Hello, welcome back to another video. So this week's video, again, we're sat on the sofa, but I wanted to do an updated fitness journey video because I've not done one of these in years. I think the last one on my channel is from, I want to say right at the start of 2021. So we are now 3 years on from that. And I feel like a lot has changed for me in the past 3 years. So yeah, I wanted to do an updated fitness journey video. Obviously I have already done that video. So if you want like a lot more details around that sort of time and where I was 3 years ago, maybe go back and watch that one. But this one I am going to give you the full rundown again, but just with updates and more of a focus on sort of where I'm at now, because my relationship with the gym and my relationship with fitness and everything has changed a lot, especially over the past like 9 to 12 months. I feel like I've really turned a corner with it. So I feel like with my fitness journey, I have to go right back to sort of the start, not to when I was born, not to when I was pushed out my mum's you know what, just to when I started to become aware of my body, I guess, because I feel like, look, as much as I want to sit here and be like, I got into the gym because I played sports all my life and then, you know, it was a really healthy innings. It's just not true, and that's not the case for me, and I'm not going to sit and pretend that it was. One of the main drivers for me getting into the gym was body image, because my background is coming from being super slim. My sister's always been very slim. I'd always been very slim, and I was never like bullied for it. Like, let me be clear, I was never bullied for it, but people used to make quite harsh remarks about my weight and about the way that my body looked, and I never really felt sort of like womanly, if that makes sense. And that's not to say that people who are slim built are not womanly. What I'm saying is the comments that were made to me made me feel that way, you know, whether it was about my chest size, a really like slim lower half, and I didn't have as many curves as all my friends. And I don't think what helped was the fact that all my friends sort of had some sort of curve somewhere. So they might have been like smaller in the chest, but they had like bigger legs and a bigger lower body, or they might have been like smaller in the lower body, but they had massive boobs, and I just had none of it. I was very sort of like tiny when I was growing up. Another thing that just didn't necessarily always help was the fact that when I would be like, oh, that's kind of, you know, a little bit of a hurtful thing to say, I was always just sort of made to feel like I was complaining about nothing, because being skinny was like in, so like how could I possibly take offense to people saying mean comments to me about my weight, which I never really understood it, but that was sort of where I was at. I'd always, growing up, always been very slim. I was never into sports. I was never into team sports. I did gymnastics when I was little. I did like all these 6-week like summer things. Like I did tennis, I tried trampolining, I tried a lot of things, but one thing I never, ever enjoyed was like group sports. I was never good at it. I've got the hand-eye coordination of a bat, like a blind bat. All through school, like PE, I didn't enjoy it until I had a PE teacher who would let us do like circuit training, and that was something that I actually enjoyed. Sounds psychotic, but if you know what the bleep test is, I actually used to enjoy the bleep test. Like I used to hate it, but like there was a bit of me that was like, I'd get into like, oh, I want to like beat what I got last time, and I did in a weird way kind of enjoy it. It's a very strange thing to make people do, but when we do circuit training, I loved it. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed like how sort of quick paced it was, and it wasn't anything to do with like team sports, because I feel like a lot of my thing with team sports is like, because I have anxiety, the thought of like, I don't want to piss people off by being bad at something and like dragging the team down. With circuit training, it's just about you, so you don't have to really worry about that. Sort of got me into movement again, because honestly, from like doing gymnastics when I was little, as soon as my sister quit, as much as I loved it, I quit as well, because I was a very anxious child and I did not want to carry on going when my sister wouldn't be going. So I quit gymnastics as well, because mama did raise a quitter. I said this in my last fitness journey video, but oh my god, I quit everything. Like nothing ever stuck with me. Every like hobby that they tried to get me into, I would eventually quit. I went on to do GCSE sport, and then I went on to do a year of BTEC sport. I did do 3 years of like studying sport when I was at school, because I enjoy it, and I enjoyed like the science behind it. So I really enjoyed the theory, and I enjoyed when we would do certain things, like when we would do things like circuit training. I really enjoyed it. I was just never into the team sports. It's just never been me, and I've never been a particularly sporty person. That's sort of like my sporting background, if you will. When I was in year 10, I believe it was, I think it was year 10, year 9 or year 10, I signed up for my first ever gym membership. So my first ever gym membership, I went to a gym called Flax with my friend at the time, and one of my main reasons for signing up to that gym was like, people like Jen Selter were huge at the time, and Tammy Hembrow was blowing up from the ages of 14 to 16. And I've never used such like strong verbiage to describe this before, but girls being in therapy. And I always felt like it was so stupid to say that like a weird situationship, my first ever proper relationship that I was in when I was like 14 to 16, I always felt like I had to minimize the damage that that did, because girl, like I was only 14 to 16, like what relationship is that deep at that age? But oh my God, like the toll that that has taken on me was like immeasurable at the time, and long term, 100% things that happened have really impacted me. And essentially I was in this like weird abusive situationship, and it was abusive, like very emotionally and verbally, and in some respects physically as well, abusive. And I didn't realize it at the time, but obviously hindsight's a wonderful thing, and now looking back I'm like, girl, what were you thinking? I was so young and I just didn't know what was right and what was wrong. It sounds really stupid, but he was horrible to me. He would make constant comments on my appearance, and one of his main things was, you know, the fact I was really flat-chested, and the fact I was very slim. So he used to tell me, which is a stupid comment to make anyway because it's an eating disorder, it's not an appearance, but he used to basically say that I was anorexic, looked anorexic, way too skinny, like no curves, like nothing about me, all that sort of stuff. So when that sort of came to an end, if you will, then I signed up to the gym, and like the friend that I was going to the gym with at the time was very into sort of wanting to trim down a bit more, whereas I was like, toning up was like my thing. So I wanted to like remain slim but like build some curves. I wasn't wanting to do anything crazy, but I did want to gain a little bit, whereas she didn't. But you know, I started going to the gym, we had inductions, we would do quite a bit of cardio, but we did actually start weight training. So I've been weight training since I was in year 10. We used to do upper body days, we used to do a lot of core work, some like weird like HIIT circuits things. Then we started going to some classes. So I used to do Zumba and legs, bums and tums back to back on like a Monday or a Tuesday, I can't remember which day. So did classes, a little bit of weight training, but yeah, I remember we got asked to write down our goals on our induction, and mine was to tone up. That was what I was sort of going for, and that was sort of my first real experience in a gym. But this like period in my life, when I look back on it, and I said this in my last video, and I still feel very confused by it. It's very confusing because it was like I wanted to be like as slim as possible whilst also building. Like it was a very weird time because I was so wanting to run away from this like, you know, really slim look because of all the comments that had been made to me. And it was mainly the comments that were made in that sort of relationship, but I did have comments from multiple other people. People would be like, go eat a burger. Any comment that you can think of saying to someone that's a little bit on the slimmer side, I received it. My sister received it. We both had it quite bad in terms of how many comments that we had on our bodies. Honestly, I think it's a miracle that like neither of us ended up with like eating disorder. The amount of comments that were made on our weight and on our appearance is insane in hindsight. But yeah, it was this sort of weird spot. And then because my friend was like wanting to work on slightly different goals, I wasn't really enjoying doing the classes anymore. And then she stopped going to the gym, but I was too anxious to go to the gym. So then I started doing home workouts. And this is where I discovered Tabata. I used to do these 10 to 20 minute Tabata workouts on YouTube. And I also discovered Joe Wicks during this time. And I remember I used to do like the most insane workouts in my bedroom. I don't know how my mum and dad didn't think, what the hell is she doing up there? He had me doing jump squats, jump lunges, everything that is going to absolutely bugger my knee, which is probably why my knee is as bad as it is at the moment, or like why it got worse. All these things are, in hindsight, probably not the best thing to be doing, but I was doing a lot of HIIT training, Joe Wicks workouts, home workouts, and that was sort of my next like phase in my fitness journey, if you will. So yeah, I was doing all these like crazy high intensity workouts, very, very, very high intensity, very like cardio intense. But I remember at the time thinking, this is gonna like tone me up, but build me muscle. So this is gonna like keep me small where I want to be small and add loads of mass everywhere else. And the stuff that was on social media at the time as well was like wildly incorrect in hindsight, but you know, I believed it. I believed in this all like low weight, high reps is gonna tone and all this sort of stuff. It was a very confusing time. Did that for quite a while. Resistance band workouts I got into. I started doing like booty band workouts in my bedroom at home as well. I was following like some Grace Fit workouts. I had all her resistance bands and I started doing a little bit of that. Then when I got into sixth form, that is when I finally grew some balls and I was just like, do you know what? My friend isn't going with me to that gym anymore. I don't feel comfortable going to that gym on my own. Fuck it. I'm just going to quit that gym and I'm going to sign up to a new one. And I signed up to my local Pure gym. Reason being, they had a women's only section. So I would go in the women's only section and I would do banded workouts, really lightweight. All they had in the women's only section, by the way, was a rack of dumbbells going up to 10 kilos, the abduction and adduction machine, and then the rest of it was cardio and like one of those like vibrating plates that you stand on, which I feel like says a lot about what at the time, I don't know how it is now, but at the time it definitely spoke volumes about sort of how women should be training. And weight training, like proper weight training, was only just starting to get popular in terms of what I was seeing on my feed. This is when like Chrissy Chella started getting big, Whitney Simmons started getting big, Grace started getting really big. So I was basically going to the gym and like replicating their workouts, but with dumbbells and bands, because I could be in my own little safe space. And then I started using barbells, but you only had like the really lightweight ones. If you've been to a Pure gym, the stuff that they have in the studios with like their small hexagonal plates. But then it got to a point where like I couldn't fit more plates on this barbell because I was progressively overloading and I was trying to build and I was trying to grow, because when I was in sixth form was when I really started to get into fitness, look into it a bit more, follow some more influencers, and I was like, right, if I want to grow, if I want to build an ass, if I want to pack on some muscle and build some curves, I need to be lifting more weight. That's sort of what I started doing. I started paying more attention to my nutrition, because all my life I had been someone that was like, I eat all this food and I just never gain weight, like I can't put weight on. And then I remember downloading LifeSum, which I still use to this day, and I just tracked a day of eating, and I was like, all this time I was like, I eat so much food and I just can't gain weight. Tracked a day of eating where I thought, oh my God, I've eaten loads, and I'd eaten like 1,400 calories. So also just a reminder that sometimes you think you're eating loads, you're not. Also the other way around, sometimes you might think you're not eating much, you could be, you never know. But that was really eye-opening. So I started to like increase my calories and try to like build, try to grow a little bit more. And then one day I was like, I just came to this realization. I was like, if I really want to grow, I can't just use the women's only section. So I actually spoke to my friend Ebony and I was like, do you want to come? Like, should we go to the gym together before sixth form tomorrow? I feel like it was a Wednesday. Weirdly, I'm really good at like remembering this sort of stuff. And she was like, yeah. So we were like, right, we'll go together and we'll suss it out. Because again, if you are someone that's just getting into the gym, it can be so nerve-wracking going into a section you've not been in before. You don't know how machines work. I was like looking at the Smith machine, like I've seen so many girls use this, but I don't know how it works. I had a really, really, really good leg day. And then from that point onwards, I never looked back. I never did a session only in the women's only gym again. I literally, that was me in the weight section, and I have not looked back since. I still get gym anxiety from time to time, but I really haven't looked back since. So yeah, started eating more, started building, started trying to grow. I didn't do like a proper bulk because like I said, I was still like very sort of wanting to grow but not fully committing to it. But I did start eating more. I started prioritizing my protein. I was having protein shakes, wasting money on branched chain amino acids, which at the time were huge, and everyone was like, these are like a must. They weren't a must. I really didn't need them, but I was having those. But that was when I really got into weight training and I started doing proper HIIT hip thrusts, Smith machine, leg press, all that sort of stuff, which I had done before, but on like pin loaded machines. I'd never done like the plate loaded leg press or like used a Smith machine before. I'm so grateful for Ebony coming to the gym with me that morning, because who knows, if I hadn't have ever had someone to go with, maybe I would have ended up on a completely different path in life. Posting a lot of like gym selfies on Instagram, like I was really into the gym, buying a lot of Gymshark. And I remember at the time, like people at sixth form, because there was like a group of us that were into the gym, and the people that weren't so into the gym would be like, oh, did you even go to the gym if you didn't take a picture? And I actually definitely used to get like a few. I feel like because we were all just like, it's very like banter in the UK, and it is banter and it's not like offensive, but I did definitely used to get comments about how much I posted about going to the gym. In hindsight, highly ironic, because I mean, she managed to make some form of career out of it. So, I mean, it turned out all right in the end, and I would like to go back in time and thank sixth form Amy for sticking to her guns and just keeping going with that. Then we booked a girls' holiday to Zante, and this is where things went a little bit funky for me. This was probably my first sort of, since starting to like feel more confident in myself and growing, this was probably the first time where I remember trying to like lose weight, and it felt like everyone was sort of like gymming and like cutting to get ready for Zante, although at the time we weren't referring to it as a cut, because I don't think we were like clued up on that. But everyone that was going to the gym, and everyone was like eating salads for lunch and being really like healthy, although in hindsight probably not all that healthy. And I remember, and I'm gonna find the picture because I want to put pictures in throughout this video, but I remember sitting on my bed when I got back from Zante, and I remember like sitting like this, and like I couldn't even get rolls on my stomach. Like that's how much like weight I'd lost in my midsection. And I remember at the time thinking like almost like it was something to be proud of, which in hindsight it really wasn't. But I think, like I said, there's a clear pattern of me just feeling very confused about how I wanted to look. And I feel like it's because I had so many different influences. Social media was starting to get huge, and a lot of girls were like really lean but like a bit bigger. I had all the comments I'd had made in the past about like, you look anorexic, you look ill, eat a burger, all this sort of stuff, like not ever feeling like womanly and stuff. And it was just a very confusing time. And to have comments on how your body looks from such a young age really takes a toll. And I would honestly say, I'll bring you up to speed as we get there, but I would honestly say to this day it still affects me, and it's still something that I struggle with. Like I remember walking through like the halls and stuff in sixth form, and this was when I was like gaining weight and trying to build and grow and stuff. If I could see my legs in the reflection, because I was really insecure about my legs, in the gym I'd be like, oh, like my legs look really good, like I'm making progress, and then I'd catch them in the reflection like walking down the corridor at school in like the glass, and I'd be like, oh my god, like my legs look really skinny, like, and it just like this constant cycle of like really up and down with my body image. Anyway, I then went to university. I went to university in Newcastle and signed up to a Pure gym there. And oh my God, I was so anxious about going to that gym that I was getting up at like 5 a.m. on a morning to go and do my workouts in first year of uni. Or I would go really late at night. And those were basically the only times I would go to the gym when I was at uni, because I was really struggling with my gym anxiety again, being in a new environment. But this is when I started to take like proper progress videos, proper progress pictures, and I was sort of like posting them on Instagram, and I was getting more into the gym. And this is when I actually started to look into things a little bit more. So even though my degree was nothing to do with sport, in first year it was a media and communications degree, so like media and like PR sort of stuff, which I didn't continue with. If you know what I've got a degree in, I didn't continue with that. I obviously had access to like my university like logins and stuff for like research papers, and I was using it more times to look into stuff to do with like muscle growth, glute growth in particular. Like I was really keen on. I was really like a huge Brett Contreras fan at the time. Obviously I know in hindsight, massively getting into really trying to understand a little bit more. So I had my first year of uni, and then I actually dropped out in my first year of uni to do a PT course. Panicked last minute, and I was like, no, I need a degree. Like, actually, I don't think I can do this. Panicked last minute, didn't end up doing my PT course, signed back up to university. And originally I did actually sign up and get accepted to do science sport at Newcastle. That's what I was going to go back and do. And then about 2 weeks, literally like 2 weeks before I started panicking, and I was speaking to my friend and I was like, I'm scared that pursuing a degree in this is going to make me hate it. And the gym was such a safe space for me and something that I really enjoyed, and something that it was like a hobby. And like I said at the start, mama raised a quitter, and it was the only thing that had been consistent in my life that I'd not quit. So I clearly enjoyed it, and I was like, I'm scared if I pursue a degree in this, because it's a completely different level. I was like, I don't know if it's going to take the fun out of it for me. So I emailed Newcastle and I was like, I know this is really last minute, but please can I swap to management and marketing? And they were like, you can't make that swap because the course is actually full, so you can't do it. So I emailed them back. I hadn't told my mum and dad, but I emailed them back and I was like, right, well then I would like to defer a year because I don't want to start a sports degree. this is the degree I want to do. Lo and behold, all of a sudden they found a space for me when I said that. I think they just wanted their £9,250 for the year. Started in first year again. This year I got really further into the gym. So I got my first ever in-person PT, which in hindsight, do you know what? I learned a lot from him, and I definitely learned a good amount about training intensity, but he was very like focused on add more weight, add more weight, add more weight. We'll worry about your form later, which there's a time and place for it. But you know, when my back squats are looking more like, you know, 3/4 half squats, I'm not sure we should be doing 95 to 100 kilos. I wish I could find the videos of it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find them, but it wasn't the best, let's just say that. But I did learn a lot about training intensity, and I feel like every coach and trainer that you have, obviously some of them are just straight up awful, but there is always something that you can learn and something that you can take away from each person. Got more and more into the gym. At this point I was really into weight training, so I was hip thrusting like over 100 kilos, doing the hack squat, doing barbell back squats, deadlifting, upper body, doing a lot of weights. I wasn't doing any cardio anymore at this point, but I was doing a lot of weights, like a lot. A very busy social life during that year of my university degree. Very, very, very busy social life. I loved it. It was a lot of fun at the time. I don't regret it. I feel like a lot of people now, each to their own, there is nothing wrong with this, but I do feel like a lot of people that are that sort of age do. And if it's not your thing, if going out, if drinking, if socializing a lot isn't your thing, I'm not speaking to you guys. I don't look back at that and like how much I went out. Obviously there's certain things that I do regret, but I don't regret having fun. You know, maybe my results would have been more impressive if I wasn't going out every weekend or like 2 to 3 times a week some weeks, but I had a lot of fun. I made a lot of memories, and I don't really regret it. And I do worry sometimes that people that are going to university now at like 18, 19, they're not having those like really social experiences because they're sort of, a lot of people are really, really, really scared to F up their muscle growth progress. And I just want to say, please, memories are so important. If you're just about to go to uni, or if you're at uni and you're feeling a bit miserable, you're always in the gym, you're really like working hard on tracking your food and stuff, but you're always in the gym, and you feel like you're missing out on something socially, please go and socialize. You will probably not be able to socialize to this extent at any other point in your life again. Go and make the most of it. I was growing quite a lot at this point as well, because like I said, I was clued up with like movements and stuff when it came to my first year of uni, but second year of uni, because I had that PT and I was really pushing myself, I feel like I did see a lot more growth again. And when I had my PT, that was actually the first time I ever did a proper bulking phase. So he put me on a bulking phase. I was on like 3,000 calories a day. It was quite intense, a lot of food. And at the end of that bulking phase, I felt like I'd put on quite a bit of unnecessary fat. I don't think I needed 3,000 calories a day. So that's when I first ever got my first online coach, was Lucy Davis. And she took me through my first ever cut, and I was super, super happy with the progress and stuff from that. And then I went away on holiday, and then I went back to uni again after the summer. But that was my first ever like bulk and then cut, and I did enjoy the experience. I found bulking quite difficult because of the amount of food my PT had me on, and also I did gain, in my opinion, still quite a bit of unnecessary body fat. But the cut went really smooth. Like I lost weight quite easily. You know, I really liked how I looked, and I was pretty happy with how things had gone, and like body image was pretty good. And a lot of things happened in that year in the gym gym ended up becoming a really, 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 really safe space and just like a place to just go and let off some steam for me. And it really was like an absolute savior. And I feel like the gym, even if I decided I didn't want to go to the gym and weight train anymore, it will always hold a special place in my heart for that reason. A lot of ish went down during that year of uni, and it was really, really, really a hard year of uni for me. I've always said uni wasn't like the best. I don't think I had the best uni experience, but I think I was just quite unlucky with a lot of things. Went back home for the summer, and that's when I started my YouTube channel. That's when I started this channel, which is turning 5 years old this summer, which is insane. So in 2019, in the summer, I'd like really hit rock bottom, but YouTube was something I'd always wanted to do. And my personal training qualification was always something I'd wanted to do. So during that summer, I started my YouTube, and I had a PT friend at the time, and I was sort of sending over all my workout videos to him to verify before I posted them, because I didn't want to post them when I wasn't qualified without them being checked over. Started posting workouts on Instagram, started my YouTube because I was just like, do you know what? I've always wanted to do it. And now I've basically got all the people that I was scared would judge me weren't in my life anymore. So I was just like, do you know what? If people are going to judge, they're going to judge. And I'm not really bothered anymore. It can't get much worse. Fuck it, what can happen? Started my YouTube channel, the best decision I ever made. And then eventually I got kind of sick of having to send, I didn't have to, but responsibly I felt like I needed to. I got sick of sending my workouts over to the PT and getting them checked over, and I was just like, why don't I just do my PT qualification? And the manager, when I came back home from uni one weekend, the manager at the gym I went to at home was actually telling me about this PT course thing in Leeds Kirkstall gym. So I was like, okay. And then I didn't think I'd be able to do it because it was quite expensive. It was like £3,000, and I didn't have £3,000 to spend on it. My mum and dad weren't like the biggest supporters of the PT road, so obviously I didn't think that they would give me the money for it. And then I looked into it, and you could actually take out an advanced learner loan for it, so basically works the same as a student loan, and that's what I did. So I took out that loan in like late summer, I want to say, and I started my PT course in like October. Did it a mix of online and in person. At this point as well, I'm learning a lot more. What I will say is with my PT course, I feel like the PT courses, in my opinion, are quite outdated, and if you've already been in the gym quite a while, you probably actually have more up-to-date information. Again, you could just be like a Dunning-Kruger and think you know everything when really all your information's wrong, but it can feel like a little bit of a regression. Like for me, in terms of training, it felt like a slight regression in terms of knowledge, and a lot of the stuff was quite outdated. But the nutrition side of it, and obviously it doesn't make you a dietitian or anything, but I learned a lot about nutrition through my PT course. I really enjoyed doing it. I qualified that in February, the end of February 2020, and during that time I was still doing my degree, still training really hard, just enjoying my fitness basically. And then I wanted to go and start working on a gym floor in March, but obviously I think it was March 23rd it was, so it's literally nearly 4 years to this day. That rolled around, whole country went into lockdown, that was it. And I remember just thinking, because so many PTs had like a massive rod up their arse at this point in time about people doing online coaching without training someone in person. And I do think for some people, I understand that makes sense. Like you can't have just been like going to the gym for 4 weeks. Oh, I like going to the gym, I'll do a course and then I'll start training people online. But there's a difference between that and someone that's been in the gym for years. Maybe they've trained friends, they've had trainers themselves, they've done a lot of knowledge building themselves. There's a difference between those two cases. So I was so scared to start my online coaching, but I was just like, well, I can't go and work as a PT, which was something I was going to do alongside my degree to earn some more money. But I was like, I can't do that now because the gyms are closed. And a lot of people didn't know how to train from home, and I didn't either because I'd not had to do it since my Joe Wicks workouts, and I knew that wasn't going to be what's going to maintain my muscle mass or even help me progress further whilst I was at home. So did a lot of research into muscle growth again, a lot of research into home workouts, and I started doing like £10 home workout things, and then I started my online coaching eventually, and that is something I still do now. We are 4 years old this month, which is crazy to me. I've worked with a lot of women, and I am so grateful to every single client, past, present, future, current, everyone, to have been doing this for 4 years. It's a very competitive industry. So I'm very, very, very grateful to have had a really good 4 years so far. Long may it continue. And I love what I do. And I would have never, ever, ever thought when I was sitting in my uni room in March thinking, do I do it? Do I not? Like undecided on it. I would have never thought that I would still be doing it 4 years on, because I didn't think it was going to pan out. When I started, I had a bit of a following and I just started working with Alpha Elite at the time. Me delusional. I was like, oh, because I've got like followers and obviously people have watched me grow, they'll like just want to sign up, you know? I was like, maybe I'll get like 10 clients. I had 2 clients for the first like 4 months, and it was only when I got them results that people started actually signing up with me, and then it just sort of snowballed from there. So just a little bit of advice as well for anyone looking to get into PTing or online coaching. People do not give a shit about the results you've got for yourself. They care about, can you get results for other people? The proof is in the pudding. Get some client results and get some client testimonials. So lockdown was obviously a very, very, very different time for training. I was having to train completely differently. But again, I feel like there is something to take out of everything, and this isn't to minimize the awful things that were going on at the time and like how much people were struggling. Like I lost my grandma during COVID. One thing that did teach me was, because I was so scared of losing muscle mass, I was training so intensely. I've probably never actually pushed myself that close to failure that consistently. And at this point, because we've been in and out of lockdown for so long, I was like, I'm gonna do my first ever proper growth phase on my own. So I actually put myself back into a surplus and I did another growth phase, but this time I did it on my own. Sorry if the camera angle just changed slightly. I've just had to wipe my memory card, and I'll pop in some pictures so you guys can see, but I was honestly really, 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 really happy with the amount of muscle mass that I built. I feel like it went well. And then again, I signed up to another online coach and I did like a bit of a cut phase, sort of like body recomp as well, because I was training in quite a different way with that coach, which is also a lot more similar to how I train now. Again, training intensity, I feel like training intensity is like an ongoing thing. You fine tune it and it takes a while. I genuinely feel like it takes a while to train with good intensity, or to know what good intensity feels like, because I feel like I just constantly improve my training intensity, and it really, really, really did help with muscle growth. At this point, obviously, I was like 21, 22. I'd been in the gym since I was in year 10, so I'd been in the gym for quite a while, and I was just sort of going through these like bulk and cut cycles. And then I feel like the period just after I filmed my last fitness journey update video, I feel like the period that followed my last fitness journey video that I made, I just sort of fell off with the gym. I fell off with consistency. I wasn't really like enjoying the gym all that much. I wasn't being that consistent with it. I stopped tracking my food for the first time in years. Obviously, I got into a relationship with Dan, which obviously things do change. It's not as easy to stick to things, especially when it's a new relationship. So I definitely did struggle with that, but I didn't really see anything like being lost. I was just sort of like, my physique just sort of basically maintained essentially. I then did another proper growth phase. I think this was like the end, so we're in 2024 now, it will have been like the end of summer 2022, which I think I did actually explain on YouTube. I started a proper growth phase again, and I ended that about like April time last year. So I did a proper growth phase again. You know, I packed on a really, really, really decent amount of muscle mass. You know, quads were looking good, glutes were looking good, everything was looking very good and very full. But again, I was uncomfortable with my body fat in like my upper body in particular, and my midsection. I was really quite uncomfortable with it. So I got in touch with another online coach, because I can't do cuts on my own because I just won't stick to it, or because of the body image issues that I do struggle with, I will go into a cut and then immediately perceive myself as 10 times smaller than I am. So then I panic and then stop cutting, but then I'm still unhappy with my body fat levels, but then I feel skinnier. It's just a mess. So I like to have a objective eye on things. And then from that point onwards, I've sort of been like maintaining, gaining. I've had a lot of like hurdles that have come up. So like the back end of last year, I got quite poorly. I became quite unwell. I was really inconsistent with my training, really inconsistent with my diet. So I was super consistent the first half of last year. Second half of last year, completely fell off, gained quite a bit of body fat, lost quite a bit of muscle mass, wasn't very comfortable with how I looked. And then at the start of this year, set myself my 75 slight struggle challenge, which I'm finishing in like the coming week, and I will give you guys an update video on that if you want one. If you want a 75 slight struggle, 75 hard, my own version, like conclusion video, let me know, because I'm more than happy to film that for you guys. But yeah, essentially I set myself a challenge of moving more, so 7,500 steps a day, because it's ironic because I'm so into the gym and my life revolves around the gym and being this fitness person, but everything to do with work other than working out, so film, editing YouTube videos, doing all my coaching work, it's very sedentary. It's sat on my laptop. So my steps were abysmal last year. It was like 3,000 a day towards the end of last year. So I set myself a goal of getting up earlier, getting sunlight, 7,500 steps a day, being consistent with my training again, and tracking my food again. And I did track my food again to stay within a deficit, which I have again lost some body fat, because my goal really from January was to build back what I'd lost and drop body fat. And because I've been training for so long now, growing and building at the same time is very difficult, and it's going to take a long time, except for when you've taken a good chunk of time off training, in which case you can be in a deficit and lose that body fat you've put on and build back what you lost at the same time. And that will be much easier at this training age than trying to build new muscle tissue and lose fat at the same time. So basically body recomping, and honestly I'm really happy with how things have gone. And I was at a point in my fitness journey last year where it was a case of you need to be sweating the small stuff now, like training intensity needs to be there if you want to grow. Nutrition needs to be there if you want to grow. Everything needs fine tuning, exercise selection, recovery. Everything needed to be very sort of kept on top of, because I've been training for so long, it's going to be that little bit harder to grow. I'm getting closer to my genetic potential and all that sort of stuff. So everything needed a bit more fine tuning. But because I fell off so bad the second half of last year with my training and everything, there was no point in me being like, oh, let's sweat the small stuff of like this specific macro split, and, you know, being really specific about things. So my goal really was to not sweat the small stuff since January, to just focus on consistency with those 5 goals I'd set myself and see what happens. And lo and behold, I've been moving more, I've been eating better, I've been training properly again with good consistency and intensity, and I have lost muscle mass, lost body fat, and I've also built back some muscle that I've lost. I don't think I'm quite there yet, but I've made some really good progress since January. And last year I felt so uncomfortable in my body, and for the first time in a while I'm feeling a lot more comfortable in myself again. And this sort of brings me on to where I'm at now. This is like I would describe it as like a slow awakening in my fitness journey that I would say has been going on for the past like 12 months, whether it was subconscious or conscious. But, you know, obviously I've mentioned I've done all these bulk and cut cycles, and, you know, when I bulk, never quite like happy, because I love how maybe my lower body looks, but then especially like with aging and stuff. So for example, when I was like 18, if I'd gain weight, I would never really gain it on my midsection. I'm 24 now. When I gain weight, it does go to my midsection as well. Not as much as it does to like my upper body and arms. Genetically, that is just where my body fat goes. It goes to my back and my arms, and like this sort of area, and my face fills out quite a bit as well. But it does go to my midsection now as well, because as you age, where you store body fat will change, and this is such a common thing. And that's why, yes, don't compare yourself to others online. Comparing you to you is a much better comparison, but don't compare yourself to the 19-year-old version of you. Or if you're in your 30s, don't compare yourself to the early 20s version of you, because our bodies are changing and adapting as we grow and as we age. And we're so lucky to get to grow and age, because a lot of people don't have that privilege in life. But your body will change, and as much as people will be like, yeah, use yourself as a comparison, make sure it's a good comparison to be drawing, because if you're, you know, mid-30s, you're not going to have the body that you had at like 21 again. You know, if you are getting to your mid-20s, late 20s, you're not going to have the 18-year-old body again. You know, yes, there's things that you might have done that have added to that change, but ultimately your body is going to change regardless. So when I was bulking, I was like happy with my lower body, but then uncomfortable everywhere else. Like the last bulk I did, you can go and watch my workout videos. Like I was training in like baggy t-shirts, like I didn't want to have like my stomach or like my arms out, or hoodies, and then I'd have like my shorts on because I really liked how my legs and glutes looked. But I was so uncomfortable everywhere else. And then when I would go through cutting phases, like intense cutting phases, by the time it got to the end of the cut, I was like then feeling like a bit too small sort of thing, and then I was like, oh, like my lower body gains, like I've lost some of them, when really I haven't. The issue with me is that I don't store a ton of body fat on my lower body, so when I do cut, I will lose any lower body fat that I've got because I don't naturally store it there. Like even at the height of my bulk, I've still got like definition in my hamstrings and a quad sweep, which most people do not have when they're like balls deep into a bulk. I do because it's not where I store fat. I just sort of felt like I'm never really like super happy with either, but I was starting to feel really uncomfortable with how my body was looking everywhere else, trying to maintain this lower body that I'd always chased after. You know, when I first got into the gym, everyone I've always followed, and a lot of people in the fitness community, like if you're not aware of this, they're like 5 foot to 5'3", not many, and obviously there are taller people, but I'm 5'6", which isn't even that tall. I feel like it's more like average. But a lot of these girls that you've seen online, they are not tall, and it sounds really stupid, but when you are shorter, your muscles will look a lot different, and also you could have less muscle mass than someone that's 5'9", but your physique will look more muscular and maybe more impressive because you're shorter, so your muscle comes out more like this. Whereas someone that's 5'9" with really long femurs, they've got to pack on a lot more muscle mass to have that same look, which could take them years, and they also might actually never be able to pack on that much muscle mass to achieve the look of a 5'3" person naturally anyway. Like it genuinely might not be possible. And I feel like I've always chased after everything I don't like about myself. To go back to the start, like always comments about my legs, like a lot of comments about like my ass, a lot of comments about certain areas of my body, and I've ran so far away from those that I've forgotten about the things that I've always liked about myself. Like I've always really liked like the shape of my midsection, and when I bulk I don't really have that as much. There's other things I've always really liked about my body, but because I've spent so long running away from the things that I've been taught to hate about myself, I've ended up sacrificing all the things that I actually naturally can attain a bit easier and really like about myself. So it's like, I basically got to this point where I was like, I feel like I need to just sort of chill and lean more into my natural build. And that's not to say I'm going back to how I looked when I was 16, but I am never gonna have the glutes, the quads, the lower body of someone that's 5'2". I can try, but I'm never gonna have that. And I'm done, like I'm so over sacrificing comfortability in my overall body, how I look, my overall appearance, for the sake of like an extra inch on my ass. It's not worth it to me anymore. Now, this does not mean I'm not gonna, you know, still try and grow. I would love to pack on more muscle mass, especially on my quads and my glutes. I love that look. Like I will always love that look, and I'm gonna try and keep growing. I'm gonna try and keep training really intensely and pushing myself in the gym and training super hard. I am done with sacrificing my body image for the sake of an extra inch on my ass or my quads. If it takes me 4 years to build it, doing it at maintenance or doing it more over a longer period of time, I'm more comfortable with that than feeling so uncomfortable for like half the year. Now, I'm a Gemini and I change my mind on things a lot. So if you see me doing a growth phase again, like a dedicated surplus growth phase again, mind your business. I'm telling you, I could change my mind, and I quite frequently do. But where I'm at the moment in my fitness journey is being more accepting of how I am naturally built and leaning more into that, leaning more into the things I really like about how I'm naturally built, leaning more into that than focusing so much on trying to change the things that I've been taught or that I feel deep down I don't like as much about myself. Yeah, like having a more like balanced, proportioned physique, one where I feel more comfortable year round, is my current goal. I want to be healthy, I want to be strong as fuck, I still want to be progressively overloading in the gym, and I will still be trying to build muscle, but right now I'm trying to lean out a little bit more still, and then I'm going to be hitting maintenance, still trying to grow, training really hard. Another thing I'm really focusing on at the moment is cardio. That's something I've neglected for years, and in the past year I have done more cardio than I've done in the prior like 6 years of me being in the gym. I've taken to doing sprints on the treadmill, I love the Stairmaster, I love doing an incline walk, and I'm really enjoying focusing on my overall health, not just what I look like. I didn't realize how freeing that would be, and like the endorphins that I get after cardio, I love it. So I'm basically just in a more balanced space in my fitness journey at the moment, and I know a lot of girls get into the gym to try and move away from how they are naturally built, and I don't want this to come across in like me saying you can't make progress. You know, if you're slim, you can't build muscle. If you are, you know, naturally hold a little bit more weight, you can't lose fat. Of course you can do that. But if you are someone who constantly finds yourself stuck in like cut and bulk cycles, because this could work the other way around. You might be someone that's naturally more curvy and maybe you really try to get that really toned physique, but when you do, cut down and then you lose all the curves that you really like about yourself. You know, it works both ways. It's such an individual thing. And I feel like, yeah, if you are someone that is constantly stuck in these sort of cycles but never feeling quite satisfied with yourself, consider what I've just said about leaning more into your natural build and having a bit more balance, and again focusing more on performance, not just what you look like in the gym, because there is a lot more to us than that. That's basically my entire like fitness story up to date. And right now where I'm at, I think first of all, I'm just feeling so grateful to feel healthy and confident again after how bad I felt last year. Very grateful for that. Feeling very grateful for my health and just feeling very balanced in my approach to fitness, which even when I filmed my last fitness journey video, I thought I was balanced. I don't think I understood what true balance was until the past year, where, you know, I've had to deal with things being thrown on the head or like being more inconsistent with things, having more trips away. Now I feel like I understand a lot more about what balance is, and I feel quite sort of at peace with things. I'm not really right now feeling like itching to work towards any goal other than feeling comfortable in myself and feeling healthy, whatever that means at any point. That's where I'm at with things. And doing this for a job, it almost feels like you always need to be either cutting or bulking because you need to have a journey that people can follow. But I just feel like, why can't the journey be me feeling more comfortable in myself, whatever that means? Why does it doesn't need to be like a huge, you know, every 6 months I'm switching goals. I kind of want to try and start maybe a new trend, who knows, of leaning more into your natural build. I feel like I've had like a spiritual awakening in my fitness journey over the past year, and it's just nice to feel like at peace and sort of balance with everything. So yeah, that is my updated fitness journey video. I hope that you guys have been able to take something away from this, especially with where I'm at the moment. I really feel like that could help people, and I hope that it does. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you've any questions about my fitness journey or anything I've said, let me know. Equally, if you are someone who is sort of in the same boat as I was and you like the idea of what I said and you've got questions about it or anything you want to say about it, let me know in the comments below. And I would also love to hear about your guys' fitness journeys, how you got into the gym, why you're still in the gym now, because how you got into the gym doesn't have to be how you stay there forever. Like, I actually think it's quite nice that I got into the gym for quite negative reasons to try and change my body because of comments that other people had made, and I ended up making a career out of it, finding something that I truly love and finding something that just gives me a lot of mental clarity, really improves my mental well-being. Yeah, I'm very grateful. Even though I maybe didn't start out in the best way, I'm happy with where I'm at now. So yeah, I'm intrigued to hear about your guys' fitness journeys, but give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to and you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video.